Hi, my name is Jacqueline Paul, and I'm the project lead for the Maugalee Giginijana Initiative. You're going to be hearing from my colleagues Elizabeth Burton, policy analyst, and Heather McNeil, our legal advisor. So we are from the Maugalee Giginijana Initiative, which means keeping our children together. And our team works out of the Gwillimuk Mau Glusawakan Mi'kmaq Rights Initiative office. We are working to draft a Mi'kmaq customary code and policies to reclaim Mi'kmaq jurisdiction over child welfare from the province. The work we are doing on the Mi'kmaq Customary Code is an exercise of Aboriginal right and self-governance and does not derogate from the Aboriginal treaty and inherent rights of the Mi'kmaq rights holders. The Mi'kmaq Customary Code and policies will also remain in draft form until they are ratified and can be changed based on the feedback we receive from our stakeholders.
Today we're going to be talking about consideration for placement of a Mi'kmaq child when they have been taken into care. If a child is taken into care, they can be placed in temporary care while the parents or caregiver receive services and supports to address the safety concerns so they can get their child back in their care. If the family preservation matter comes to an end and the child is not able to be reunited with their parents or caregiver or family, the child will be placed in extended care. This means that the agency would have guardianship of the child and make any decisions about the care of the child going forward. The Mi'kmaq Customary Code has several principles that guide the placement of a Mi'kmaq child, and I'll go through 4 of them. Mi'kmaq children need to be looked after by Mi'kmaq in their communities where they are familiar with their people and their surroundings. When a Mi'kmaq child is no longer able to live with their parents or caregiver, the child and the parents or caregiver can be involved in the decision as to where the child will be placed. Grandparents, godparents, and other family members can have a significant role in caring for a Mi'kmaq child when the child's parents or caregiver are unable to. And last, significant others to a Mi'kmaq child can be considered relatives or family and can play a role in caring for a child when the child's parents or caregiver are unable to.
The Mi'kmaq Customary Code and policies also speak to the priority of placements. The placement has to be in the best interest of the Mi'kmaq child and should be based around the existing relationship the child has to their carer. When thinking of who can care for a Mi'kmaq child who has been taken into care, the social worker should first consider one of the child's parents or caregivers. If the child cannot stay with their parents or caregivers, the social worker should then look at another adult member of the child's family. If there's no one in the child's family that the social worker can consider, another adult who belongs to the same Mi'kmaq community as the child or who belongs to another Mi'kmaq community can be considered. If there are no Mi'kmaq adults who can care for the child, the social worker can consider an adult who belongs to another Indigenous community the child has a connection to. Or, if all else fails, then the social worker can consider another adult. The priority of placements is meant to help keep the child connected to their family, community, and culture when they're taken into care.
Now, whenever a child needs to be placed, the social worker must consider placing that child with their siblings or other children who are considered part of their family. The social worker also has to consider the child's attachment and emotional ties to their parents or caregiver and other family members when they are taken into care. When it's in the best interest of the Mi'kmaq child, the social worker should support contact and connection between the child and their family. The social worker must also take into account the customs and traditions of Mi'kmaq peoples and their communities when placing a child. For example, the family and social worker can consider if there is a customary care placement option available. We'll talk a little bit more about customary care next week, so I'll leave that for the moment. The social worker should also take into account the specific needs of children with disabilities or those with complex needs. They must also take into account the needs of 2S LGBTQIA+ children. We want to make sure that a child's needs are met and that they are in a supportive home that respects who they are and preserves their identity.
In supporting least intrusive measures to support a child and family, we've developed a voluntary removal of parents or caregiver protocol when a child needs to be taken into care. Under this protocol, rather than removing the child from the home, the social worker and the parents or caregiver can talk about the option for the parents or caregiver voluntarily leaving the home. In this case, the child should stay in their home under the care of another adult family member or carer, while the parents or caregiver live elsewhere and get the services and supports they need to address the concerns and support reunification of the family. This option offers some continuity for the child during this difficult time. They can stay in a place that they know, they get to sleep in their same bed at night, they can play with their same toys, go to the same school, stay on the same bus route, and are close to their friends and family. It's important that no one's made homeless as a result of this protocol, which is why it's voluntary. We want to support parents or caregivers to be successful, and housing is a key part of that success.
When a child has been removed from the care of their parents or caregiver, the social worker must do assessments at a minimum of every 30 days to consider whether the child can be reunified with their parents or caregiver. If the child cannot be reunified with their parents or caregiver and has been placed outside of their family, the social worker must also consider whether they can be placed with another adult member of the child's family. The social worker must also reassess every 6 months whether an extended care placement can be ended to reunify the child with their parents or caregiver or another adult member of their family.
When a child is taken into care, the social worker must work with the child and their family to plan for the child's needs. This can be done in a Wigamish-Gignah circle. If the child's in extended care or if they were taken into care after turning 14, the social worker must start to work with them to help build strong skills, strong connections, and supports for future successful transition to independence. The social worker can work with the child to develop a transitioning to independence plan that talks about the child's goals for their future, the skills they have and the ones they need to build, and the people, organizations, and supports that can help them on their way to independence. A reintegration ceremony may also be provided to a child with their consent to support a reconnection to their family, community, and nation. Even if a child has transitioned on their own but have not been successful, they can seek further agency placement and services and supports up to the age of 26. We've also heard that families who have had a child placed in temporary care lose payments from the Canada Child Benefit, which many refer to as the family allowance. We are working on a plan to make sure that families are reimbursed in some way for that loss of money, so it does not create a barrier for them to be reunified with their child.
Thank you for listening. We hope you keep an eye out on our social media and YouTube pages for our next video on out-of-home care for Mi'kmaq children. Thank you.
Thank you.